Holy. I wasn't expecting Kaname's friend to get chopped up and put into a box, Amazon Prime Express delivery to him. But if you watch after the credits, not only does Kaname emotionally snap, he also kills someone for the first time in Darwin's game. That was a rage and a look I never expected to see in Kaname, at least in the first season. We have one episode left to go with Darwin's game, and it seems like it's going off on the best bang possible. We definitely have a lot to discuss with this week's episode. It was absolutely insanity, and in terms of emotional high points, the best of the season for Darwin's game to date. This episode, I thought, really highlighted the growth of Kaname in such a well-detailed way. Kaname is the type of character who never wanted to kill. Even after being thrown into a death game, he never wants to kill. Only time he's ever come to the point of being willing to pull the trigger is in a situation where if he didn't pull the trigger, he knew his life was going to be over. So an operation where he's trying to rescue his friend, you might want to say to yourself, okay, his friend's fingers were cut off. Why wouldn't he want to kill this leader and his clan? But the thing with it is after seeing already someone lose their arms, that can be healed. We already know that, we have a mechanic, so it's not like it would be a permanent thing. Of course he's pissed off in the moment, that's why he's freaking out, going Hulk style against a wall. But the thing with it is Kaname isn't an assassin, at least until basically that emotional snapping at the end. So for him to basically say, we're going to try our best to just rescue him and get the hell out of there, to me it does still make sense for his character at that point, because every situation where he's really been willing to pull the trigger, end someone's life, it's because they came after him. For him to go inside a building and just start mowing people down, that still wasn't a part of his character. And at first, I actually did found it a bit weird. I was like, okay, does that really make sense for Kaname? Should he really still want to try to play the nice guy? But the more I thought about it, the more I agreed with his decision, and anyone who was a normal person starting out would most likely follow a similar track, or would just go in and get themselves killed because they thought they were a Rambo or something like that. So to have him really just try to be stealthy and just, protect the police force, which that police force did not do well, but I mean, as much as it would be easy to criticize a SWAT team for getting killed so easily, when you have abilities locking their triggers and you have people who can punch a head off, it's understandable why normal humans wouldn't be able to go up against a sigil and things like that. But that build-up, honestly, I wasn't expecting it. I thought his friend was joining the crew. I mean, they were able to get him to join D-Game, and he had an ability that I think most of us can agree was probably one of the best abilities we've seen in this show to date. The idea of basically a telekinesis of just smacking fools around, and it kind of felt like he was getting an OP ability for that situation. And even if it felt convenient, I was gonna be like, you know what, I think Kaname, he deserves to have his friend. I mean, he's already lost one of his friends, let him have him. And when you see the boss and you just see that standstill, you knew something was off. And him dying at that moment, I was like, okay, I could see that. I could, sure. But I wasn't expecting the box. I think this moment of just the realization that his friend was near him all along, and as he slowly opens up and he's building up to that moment, I think it really shows the difference between being edgy and being emotional. Because how often do we have something like that in Darwin's game? Really, that's the first time in Darwin's game that we've had that big of a shocker, and it's the second last episode of the anime for the season. And I thought that buildup was fantastic. The crying, the emotional distraught, the laughing, and just, what are you going to do? Thinking, okay, like, Kaname's done for. He's not going to be able to do shit. This is too much for him. I mean, the only other person we have is a man with a machine gun. Sure, he can tank some shots because of his armor, but you're not getting out of that alive. And then after the credits, you just see a headshot, and then you see Kaname lose it. The thing with it is you never wanted to see Kaname start killing because of rage. You kind of felt like there would just come a point where like he realized his life was in danger, but this seems like the mental snapping point of what is Kaname going to look like in the future, and I don't know. But his evolution of not wanting to participate to basically saying, okay, I have to fight, but I'm not going to kill him. All that transition and build-up made sense, and how he's built his clan. It's honestly one of the more effective clans in Darwin's game, so you can't even say it's not an effective leadership style and things like that. Sure, it is like playing Darwin's game with a handicap, but we still don't know what his basically wish was after winning the prior event. For all we know, that could also aid in him wanting to play a bit more as a passive way of like not wanting to kill and be nice and things like that. So we don't know. Kaname isn't an idiot. We've clearly seen that with his leadership style. I'd say he's the best written character, and I'd say the most believable character in the game without a doubt in my mind. We understand his motivations, we can relate to him at certain points, and when we feel like his leadership style isn't working, the side characters are also kind of thinking that, but you kind of have to put trust into the man who's basically got them out of every situation thus far, and has kind of been like the ace in the hole since the very beginning of this game. But to see what he did after the credits, it has an entire new possibility of what could happen, and it makes me want to see a second season all the more. And like I've said, if this doesn't get a second season, probably after a year after this finishes, if I don't see any announcements, any confirmations that it's getting more, the manga is getting read for sure, because holy shit, I loved Kaname before this episode, but I really love him after this week. And I mean, the episode starts off, right, and we're seeing, characters, and we have, of course, just intel being passed around. We're thinking to ourselves, okay, we got Rain, everything's looking good, we might even have another character possibly joining in on the crew. We're getting information. Sure, Kaname's pissed off, people are a little scared, but this is Darwin's game, this is Kaname, he's gonna be okay. The last time we saw a real big death, sure, we had the florist, but I mean, it kind of didn't feel like he was a part of the main crew and he was kind of going on a suicide mission. The real big death was really the first one we saw with his friend getting killed, and just the realization of what could happen. And the idea of almost starting the show off with a friend dying, and ending the show with a friend dying, and just seeing the difference in Kaname over 10 episodes, it is absolutely fantastic. I mean, this show, it's not the flashiest. Absolutely, it's not. I mean, how many times can you look at this show and say, okay, that's obviously not the prettiest of details, we're holding on to a shot with a lot of underwhelming facial details, but holy shit, the moments that are high octane, you're just seeing bullets flying, abilities going crazy, we're having super speed versus super strength going on. The real key moments look great, and I love the overall aesthetic design to this. It really does feel like a gritty battle royale. I honestly feel like with all the kind of like battle royales I've seen where it is like a game of some sort, it almost feels like there's a similar style to most of them, where with all the character designs in D-Game, yeah, some of them are very anime for sure. Like, look at the boss of this organization. He looks like a snake, just in a more humanoid form. But at the same time, I feel like everyone has a unique personality. You kind of feel like the way they stylize their clothing, their hair, things like that. It honestly feels like a person, and I just love the overall gloominess to just any scene. Even when you're just walking down a street, it doesn't feel like it's a bright, poppy, look at how beautiful the city is. It's almost like this, like, melancholy, as if something bad's always going to come around the corner. And I think that's why it works for me, because even when I look at, because honestly, a lot of the underwhelming visuals in Darwin's game would turn me off in a lot of series, but this show hooked me so early on that every time I'm like, yeah, I definitely could prefer it to be a little more polished. It doesn't distract me enough because the moments that I love visually are amazing. I love the overall character designs, and I think the background detail makes it feel like a real world, but obviously, it's going to be a battleground very quickly. So it's just like, it always works for me. I'm so conflicted. I am very, very conflicted because on one hand, I fear what Kaname might become, but on the other hand, I feel like maybe this will be a moment, right? He understands that he has to kill this team, but he's not just going to start playing D-Game as just wildly killing everyone, or maybe he will. I honestly feel like whatever direction they take Kaname going forward, honestly could be really interesting for the story. Either keeping him more of a character who understands that, he shouldn't just want to kill everyone, he wants to be, more intelligent, wants to find a way to destroy the game rather than just playing by its rules, or maybe he's going to say, you know what, I'm going to destroy the game, but I'm going to destroy everyone else as well. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people who will just love seeing Kaname kill, but that's all they've ever really watched Darwin's game for, is just the bloodshed. But for those of us who have loved the progression of Kaname and how he's realistically grown into a leadership role, how he's kind of started to apply himself to this game and understand when it is okay to pull the trigger and when it's okay to not. Because in that moment, as painful as it is, had he not pulled the trigger, he could have easily died or his companion could have died. So yeah, they do need to kill these people without a doubt in my mind. It's just the reasoning and the look that he gave when he did it. That's not a look you wanted to see, and of course I'm excited to see his badassery, just him using his abilities, mowing people down, but I think once all is said and done and we realize that it's just a bloodbath, what are we going to look like? Is there going to be shame, regret, rage? We don't know what's going to be in his eyes, and I think that's why it's such a great episode. I mean, this episode I thought was going to be fun for sure. I mean, we've been building up to this whole kidnapping, and we're seeing just the idea of they weren't even sure if that was his friend, right? It was just like any dumb bastard Kaname will try to save because he'll feel guilty, which isn't totally wrong. So I was thinking to myself it would be fun, but I thought I still knew what to expect with Darwin's game, because most of the formula that's been revealed, I feel like I get it. The things that are truly shocking is the implementation of other game mechanics and rules that we just didn't know about up until that episode. So to me, someone dying, even his friend dying, sure, but not chopped up. Not chopped up to then seeing him mentally snap and then the gunfire. I mean, Darwin's game could have easily been a show where it just did that every episode. You know, you had a very shocking death, gruesome Saw style, and people probably would have ate it up. I mean, that's basically how these types of anime get popular. The edgier, the gorier, the more hype and buzz around it. But the thing with it is, the fact that they've left us for so long without seeing something like that makes it impactful. Less is more is something that needs to be applied a lot more to action-driven series, because when we get a moment that truly churns our stomach, we're like, holy shit, we're both filled with regret and rage for a character that we're not friends with. We have no emotional connection to him other than knowing that he's a friend of Kaname. But the thing with it is, he's not our friend. But the way they built it up with that regret and rage and sorrow over the episode, it made us feel like we wanted to see him survive for Kaname's sake. And when we saw the failure, we felt everything that our main character was feeling. And that's a testament to how you know the writing is really solid in this show. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Source some TR Readers anime originals, especially for anime originals. What did you think of that twist? Do let me know. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.